Why Hamilton is struggling to match Russell. In qualifying for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix on Saturday, Mercedes was once more a second slower than Ferrari and Red Bull Racing. Toto Wolff is frustrated that the W13's performance on race weekends has nothing to do with how the car handles on the road. Therefore, the German racing squad is still learning. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video, we will be discussing why Hamilton is struggling to match Russell. We are perplexed by the performance decline of the Mercedes in 2022, when it didn't start as brightly as anticipated in a few instances since 2014. It rebounded more quickly than the opposition would have hoped. Mercedes though is now moving very slowly. Driver or vehicle? The key question is always, who contributes more to success and performance, the driver or the vehicle? Since there have only been 4 races so far this season, that question has already been amply addressed. Hamilton is driving a worse car than he has ever had, and Russell is driving a better car than he has ever had, save from when he previously tested for Mercedes. The difference stems from the respective motivations of each of these guys, which is perfectly understandable. While Hamilton is unhappy that he doesn't have a chance at the pole, but is still driving in the hopes that it might happen, Russell is simply glad to have a chance at Q3 and makes the most of what he has. The role of Mercedes. If we were to assign blame, Mercedes would be solely to blame. It has been successful for many reasons, but it now appears to have given up. Mercedes should be experimenting during these first 4 races. Its flaws outside margins are the pit lane's most rudimentary. While I'm not advocating that it has been dissembled between sessions, I do believe that nothing is being done to remedy the poor performance. The winning side. A couple of weekends can sometimes work against you when you're close to the pack, and that's essentially what happened in this case. Russell's strong start is commendable, but that shouldn't be interpreted as Hamilton suddenly lacking drive or drastically underperforming. Mercedes has not yet found a remedy. Porpoising has been a problem for Mercedes all year. In an interview with Auto, Motor and Sport, Wolff emphasised that the issue is complicated and won't be resolved in a day. He claimed to understand how the bounce happens, however they are still unsure of how to put a stop to it. They are experimenting because of this. In the long run, that matters more than short-term circuit optimization of the vehicle. Baku drive. Lewis Hamilton used a different flaw than George Russell when driving in Baku. The 7-time world champion was a little more than 2 tenths slower than his native countryman on Saturday afternoon, according to the Mercedes team manager, and that is also the reason for it. Lewis experimented with a modified bottom end standard. It was a failure. Time is already running out quite quickly for Mercedes because they must soon settle on a concept that they wish to use in 2023. This season, Russell has defeated Hamilton in all but 2 of the races, those exceptions being Bahrain's first round and Canada's most recent race. Additionally, Russell has placed in the top 5 in each race this season, putting him about 60 points behind Max Verstappen for the championship. Hamilton, on the other hand, has fallen behind by 98 points following a shaky season debut. Hill, meanwhile, is adamant that the gap between the drivers is not as great as it seems on the track. He said that Russell's been wonderful. He's been incredibly trustworthy and reliable. That is an encouraging indicator. Lewis has undoubtedly been overshadowed by his qualifying efforts, but I believe that some of that can be attributed to Lewis's attempts to do things that have slightly disrupted the progress of the car's improvement. It's to his credit that he is working on it, because Lewis has mentioned something to the effect of, maybe we'll ask George to undertake all the experimental stuff in the latter half of the season. After a disappointing start to the season, and with Mercedes appearing to be a long way from challenging the frontrunners, some have questioned Hamilton's motives for staying in Formula 1. Hill's acknowledgement. Hill acknowledged that Hamilton sometimes has a dejected appearance, but thinks he still can perform. The former Williams driver said it was impossible to tell when asked if Hamilton had been influenced by the contentious way he lost the championship last season. He stated that after a few terrible laps in Spain, he just wanted to park the car. The crew pushed him to keep going, and he eventually emerged as one of the track's fastest drivers and caught up to George. Hamilton's role. Hamilton isn't doing as poorly as some people appear to be portraying him, and Russell is managing the issue quite well, possibly even slightly better than Hamilton. Another way to look at it is that you can appreciate Russell's impressive performance in Imola and his remarkable consistency under trying conditions without implying that it proves Hamilton is lying, giving up or pouting. What impresses me is not the gap between them at the checkered flag in Imola. Russell's stellar opening lap propelled him entirely clear of the middle group, whereas Hamilton was mired in a lane of vehicles the entire race. This was the result of narrow gaps. As he did in Saudi Arabia, Hamilton must assume some accountability. Russell stands out because he has found methods to improve his weekend, whereas Hamilton has struggled in 2 of the 4 races thus far. The 2 in which Mercedes has possibly been more exposed. It's a huge boost for him to have outperformed Hamilton at any race thus early in the season, because he is performing well in challenging circumstances. Hamilton's 2022 performance. The amount of animosity surrounding the 2021 Formula 1 Championship match makes the discussion of Hamilton's 2022 performances a little tenser because of some of those who take excessive joy in his present troubles. Although circumstances have made Hamilton's issue worse and widened the distance to Russell in some races, that shouldn't preclude us from debating the facts. The championship table is a fairly clear-cut statement. Anyone would be affected by transitioning from one of Formula 1's most demanding and mentally taxing title fights into a car that is far less competitive. Hamilton hasn't been found out though. It does not imply that he is giving up. It could imply that he is currently finding it more difficult to access and utilise all of his potential. While it's true that he might not be able to do his best right now, that shouldn't be used to discredit the entirety of his previous work. And let's not forget to give Russell the huge credit he deserves. He has more to lose professionally due to Mercedes' current downward spiral than Hamilton does, so the failure of his major break to date must be at least somewhat demoralising given the conditions he is creating amazing work. Hamilton in 2023. In any case, Hamilton is having a challenging season. He always had a car that could compete directly for victories and even titles in past seasons, but in 2022 everything is different. Questions are asked in a very different way than before. Hamilton's motivation is unaffected though. The 37-year-old British driver's contract is still valid until 2023, and Wolff dispels rumours that Hamilton might retire early. Lewis has great motivation. He is looking for a way out of this dilemma just like the rest of us. Lewis will therefore continue to drive for us until the end of 2023 without a doubt. For the following year we have no openings, therefore Pierre Gasly, one of the drivers seeking promotion, can put an end to the Mercedes brand. People are ready to pounce when the slightest weak areas emerge, and in a time where F1 fans are becoming more and more divided, Mercedes' troubles amplify any performance discrepancies. In the fast-paced world of Formula 1, stories may change in an instant. If Hamilton defeats Russell in Miami, the focus will likely shift to another area. Instead of being Hamilton's issue, this is Mercedes' fault. Its largest flaw may have been a lack of creativity, which prevented it from making plans for a period when the team and its 7-time world champion wouldn't be the dominant force, and for underestimating its competitors before it was too late. It should have remembered Red Bull's example. And that's all for this video guys, we'll be back with another informative video soon, stay tuned.